What if I told you that pilots are now training to survive forces that can make a human black out in seconds while preparing for missions that could ignite a global conflict? Right now, deep inside Nellis Air Force Base, a new phase of U.S. military readiness is unfolding and is not being talked about enough. Female F-16 pilots are being pushed through extreme combat simulations, flying low, fast, and under intense pressure, preparing for scenarios linked directly to Iran. But here's the real question. Why now? Is this just routine training or a sign that something much bigger is coming? Stay with me because the truth behind this might surprise you. At Nellis Air Force Base and nearby Creech Air Force Base, the day doesn't begin with noise. It begins with precision. Massive hangar doors slowly open, revealing rows of F-16 fighter jets, each one a machine built for speed, power, and combat. Ground crews move with urgency but without chaos. Every step is calculated. Jets are pulled out, lined up, and immediately prepped for flight. Fuel trucks roll in, pumping thousands of pounds of fuel into the aircraft, while weapons teams carefully arm the jets with training munitions that simulate real combat payloads. It looks routine, but the intensity in the air says otherwise. Then come the pilots. Under the supervision of specialists, each pilot goes through a meticulous gear-fitting process. Helmets are adjusted millimeter by millimeter to ensure perfect alignment. Oxygen masks are sealed tightly. Any leak at high altitude could be fatal. The G-suit, one of the most critical pieces, is strapped on and pressure tested. This suit is designed to do something extraordinary. When the jet performs extreme maneuvers, pulling 6 to 7 times the force of gravity, the human body struggles to keep blood flowing to the brain. Without support, a pilot can lose consciousness in seconds. The G-suit prevents that by inflating air bladders around the legs and abdomen, forcing blood back upward. To understand this, imagine your body suddenly feeling 7 times heavier than normal. Even lifting your arm would feel like a struggle. Now imagine making split-second decisions in that state while flying at hundreds of miles per hour, just meters above rugged terrain. That's the level these pilots are operating at. But here's where the tension rises. According to defense briefings and military reporting, these exercises are not just theoretical drills. Every maneuver, every simulated strike, every low-altitude run is designed to mirror real combat conditions as closely as possible. The environment, the pressure, even the unpredictability, it's all intentional. This isn't practice for some day. It's preparation for something that could happen much sooner than most people think. Across training skies stretching from Las Vegas to Phoenix, a quiet but powerful shift is taking place inside the U.S. Air Force. And in 2026, it's no longer being framed as a social milestone. Female F-16 pilots are now being trained to the exact same combat standards, under the same pressure, and for the same missions as their male counterparts. There is no separation in roles, no adjusted expectations, and no alternative tracks. Whether it's high-speed interception, precision airstrikes, or close air support, the mission requirements remain identical. According to multiple defense analyses and military reporting, this reflects a deeper structural change in how modern air power is being prepared for future conflicts. But here's where the narrative truly shifts. This is no longer about inclusion or representation, it's about operational necessity. Modern warfare in 2026 is defined by speed, unpredictability, and constant readiness. Conflicts are no longer slow building, they escalate rapidly, often without warning. In this kind of environment, the military cannot afford limitations in pilot availability. Every trained pilot becomes a critical asset, regardless of gender. The focus is no longer on who fills the role, but how quickly and effectively that role can be executed under pressure. Training rotations across vast airspaces, including those near Phoenix, are designed to simulate real-world deployment conditions. Pilots are exposed to varied terrains, unpredictable scenarios, and complex mission profiles that demand instant decision-making. The goal is simple but intense. Create pilots who can be deployed at a moment's notice anywhere in the world without hesitation. This is where the concept of maximum pilot availability comes into play. The Air Force is building a force where readiness is constant, not conditional. At the same time, rapid deployment has become a central pillar of military strategy. According to defense policy discussions and strategic reports, the ability to mobilize skilled pilots within hours, not days, is now seen as a decisive advantage. This means training is no longer just about skill development. It's about conditioning the mind and body to operate under relentless pressure with zero margin for error. In this new reality, every pilot is expected to perform at peak capacity from the very first moment of engagement, and that expectation applies equally to everyone in the cockpit. The training these pilots are undergoing is not random. It is carefully designed around the kind of missions they may soon face, particularly in regions like Iran, where tensions remain high and the margin for error is almost non-existent. At the core of this preparation are three critical mission types. The first is precision airstrikes, where pilots must identify and hit specific targets with extreme accuracy, often in complex and hostile environments. These are not wide-area attacks. They demand sharp focus, real-time intelligence, and flawless execution. The second is drone interception. Modern battlefields are increasingly dominated by unmanned aerial systems, and stopping them requires speed, awareness, and immediate reaction. Pilots must detect, track, and neutralize these targets within seconds. The third is close air support, one of the most demanding roles, where pilots operate in direct coordination with ground forces, delivering firepower while ensuring friendly troops remain safe. What makes this training even more intense is the environment in which it takes place. Pilots are flying low and fast, often just above rugged mountainous terrain that leaves no room for hesitation. These conditions are intentionally designed to replicate real combat zones, where threats can appear without warning and every second counts. Navigating through narrow valleys, adjusting to sudden changes in elevation, and maintaining control at high speeds requires not just skill, but instinct. According to defense-related reporting and military briefings, these scenarios are built to push pilots to their absolute limits, forcing them to make split-second decisions under extreme pressure. And this is where the urgency becomes impossible to ignore. These aren't theoretical exercises or distant possibilities. Every maneuver, every simulated strike, every rapid response drill is based on real-world conflict models. The flight paths, the targets, the timing, they all reflect situations that could unfold in active combat zones. Pilots are not just learning how to fly better, they are rehearsing how to survive and succeed in environments where failure has immediate consequences. In this kind of preparation, there is no clear line between training and reality, because the goal is to make them indistinguishable. Step back from the runway for a moment, and a bigger picture begins to emerge, one that goes far beyond training exercises. The real question is not just what is happening, but why it is happening now, in 2026. Timing in geopolitics is rarely accidental. The increased intensity of these preparations comes at a moment when tensions involving Iran continue to evolve, shaped by regional instability, proxy conflicts, and ongoing strategic rivalry. According to international defense analysis and global security reporting, military readiness often rises quietly before any visible escalation, not after. And what we are seeing here fits that pattern. This is where the concept of operational readiness becomes critical. The United States is not simply training pilots, it is expanding its ability to respond quickly and decisively to emerging threats. In modern warfare, speed is power. The side that can mobilize faster, deploy earlier, and adapt quicker often gains the upper hand before a conflict even fully unfolds. This explains the focus on rapid deployment, high-intensity simulations, and real-world mission replication. It is about reducing reaction time to near zero. But there is a deeper shift taking place. This is not just an update in training methods or an effort to modernize procedures. It reflects a broader transformation in military posture. Instead of preparing for long, drawn-out conflicts, the emphasis is now on readiness for sudden, high-impact engagements. Conflicts today are less predictable, more fragmented, and often unfold across multiple domains at once: air, cyber, and ground simultaneously. According to strategic policy discussions and military doctrine updates, the goal is to remain constantly prepared rather than react when it's too late. And that brings us to the most important question. When a military begins training at this level of realism and urgency, it usually signals more than routine preparedness. It suggests anticipation. Not certainty, but expectation. If you're watching this closely, you have to ask yourself, does this look like preparation or anticipation? Because in geopolitics, the difference between those two can define what happens next.
Beyond strategy, technology, and advanced machines, there's a deeper layer to all of this that most people completely overlook, and that is human performance. Modern warfare is not just about equipment or firepower, it's about how well a person can think, react, and stay composed under extreme pressure. Research in military psychology and high-performance studies shows that the biggest advantage in high-stakes environments often comes down to focus, discipline, and split-second decision-making. Fighter pilots are not just trained to fly, they are trained to control their mind when everything around them is pushing them toward overload. Think about what these pilots experience. In the middle of high-speed maneuvers, under forces reaching 6 to 7 Gs, their bodies are under extreme strain. Their vision can narrow, and their brain is processing multiple variables at once: altitude, speed, targets, threats, and communication. Yet they are expected to make the right decision instantly. There is no pause, no second chance. Now compare that to everyday life. While these pilots train to survive 7G turns, most people struggle to stay focused for even 7 uninterrupted minutes without checking their phones, scrolling, or getting distracted. That contrast is not just striking, it's revealing. This is where the principle of performance optimization becomes powerful. High performance, whether in combat or daily life, follows certain key rules. First, elimination of distractions. Pilots operate in an environment where unnecessary input is minimized, allowing their mind to focus on what truly matters. Second, precision routines. Every action, from gear preparation to flight execution, follows a structured process designed to reduce mistakes. And third, mental clarity under stress. Training is repeated until responses become automatic, freeing the mind to handle unexpected situations calmly and efficiently. What makes this especially relevant in 2026 is that these same principles are quietly shaping both military and civilian success. In a world overloaded with notifications, constant information, and divided attention, the ability to stay focused has become rare and extremely valuable. The difference is that for these pilots, losing focus is not just unproductive, it can be catastrophic.
When you connect all the dots, the intensity of the training, the realism of the missions, and the timing in 2026, the focus naturally shifts to what happens next. While no official timeline is publicly confirmed, defense analysts and global security reporting suggest several possible paths forward, and none of them are insignificant. One scenario involves increased aerial operations across the broader Middle East, where air power continues to play a central role in surveillance, deterrence, and rapid response. In regions surrounding Iran, even a small shift in military activity can signal a much larger strategic move behind the scenes. Another possibility is forward deployment. This means these highly trained pilots could be positioned closer to potential conflict zones, reducing response time if a situation escalates. In modern military strategy, proximity is power. The closer assets are to a region of interest, the faster decisions can be executed in real time. According to military planning insights and geopolitical assessments, this kind of positioning is often used not just for combat readiness, but also as a form of strategic signaling, sending a message without firing a single shot. At the same time, the risk of escalation cannot be ignored. History has shown that when multiple sides increase readiness simultaneously, the margin for miscalculation becomes dangerously thin. A single incident, a misinterpreted move, or an unexpected confrontation in contested airspace can quickly spiral into something much larger. This is especially true in environments where advanced technologies, drones, and rapid response systems are all operating within close range of each other. What makes this moment particularly significant is the combination of preparation and uncertainty. These pilots are not being trained in isolation. They are part of a broader system that is aligning resources, refining strategies, and preparing for multiple outcomes at once. And that brings us to the underlying tension behind everything we've explored. The question is not if these pilots are ready, it's whether the world is ready for what comes next. In the end, behind every jet, every mission plan, and every political decision, there are human lives. Families waiting, futures uncertain, and a world that feels like it's always standing on the edge of something bigger. Moments like these don't just test militaries, they test humanity itself. And no matter where you stand, one thing is clear. The cost of conflict is never just measured in strategy, but in people. Now I want to hear from you, but not just opinions. Tell me this. When you see everything unfolding, do you feel this is strength keeping peace or pressure building towards something else? If you want to understand where this is all heading, watch our previous report. You'll see connections most people are missing. And if you value deep, no-noise analysis like this, support the work. One click and you're part of a community that chooses clarity over chaos.